Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this first great meeting of comprehensive plan planning in our city of Fairburn. If you will, if you can, please take your cell phones and turn them to the silent position. That way, as the presenters are doing their job here, we're so excited right now about the input that's going to happen. I'm really excited. And if you guys know me, I see a lot of almost every corner of the city of Fairburn represented in the room. So if you guys know me, I'm going to start off our meeting with a prayer first, and then I'm going to talk about why we're here, and then turn it over. If everyone could just bow your head. Father, we come before your presence with thanksgiving. We enter into your course with praise. We thank you for the meeting that's about to commence, and we just thank you that this meeting will be productive and make a mark in the city of Fairburn that'll never be erased. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much. We're so happy because as I look around the room, when I see corners from subdivisions from Plantation Road, Meadow Glen, Durham Lakes, and so many different other areas of the city of Fairburn, from education, it's going to make a difference. Why? It's going to make a difference because as I see a lot of our business owners that are in the room here, this is a combination of residents, business owners, and people that make Fairburn what it is. One of the things I'm very excited about, if you didn't get it, please get this bingo sheet. This is kind of a game. One of the things that we try to do in all of our various meetings, we try to create some type of fun activity so that, number one, if you don't remember half of what was said, you'll take a document with you that'll remind you of what was said. So again, I'm just excited right now. If you will, again, you'll see on the document right now, we'll just, whether you want to talk about mixed use, redevelopment, unutilized properties. One of the things we're proud about is that you hear a lot of cities talk about various impoverished areas. Every city has some impoverished areas. One of the things we're excited about, we're not just looking at doing a comprehensive plan to take our city to heights that have never been deemed possible. We want to look at the areas that's been overlooked, the Lightning community in particular, that's been overlooked for decades. If you can already see, if you go down 92, you'll see where we've developed parks. We've already put it right there in front of the Lightning community. One of the reasons we're doing what we're doing, we need your input because right now, we're blessed right now with our relationship with the governor's office. We're $130 million that's going to completely redo the Highway 74 bridge. Again, our great relationship with the governor's office has facilitated that with our great staff. One of the things we're looking at as we've now brought in over 100 plus businesses in the last 3 years, that's a reflection of the staff that's in place. I want to thank the management that's in place along with a lot of our HOA presidents that are actually serving on our planning and zoning board. A couple of them are sitting right here in front of me. And so we're trying to make sure everybody has a voice in the city of Fairburn. I'm very happy right now, too, when I look at a lot of our seniors that are here and a lot of them that are on their way. We've got one of the strongest senior programs in our Parks and Recreation Department. One of the things we're excited about that is because as we look at men and women that are retired, they're looking to retire in their older years, our goal is for them to stay in the city of Fairburn, not retire and then to find somewhere to move. We've taken some great steps as it relates to dealing with seniors, dealing with youth. Again, not surprising, staff will know that I'll mention my favorite event of the year, the Fairburn Fall Festival, where we brought over 30,000 people here in one day, but college bands, high school bands, and the U.S. military. What is the purpose of all that? We're bringing people with big events that we're doing. Our third Fridays is starting in the month of April. We bring in people here, but we need you to tell us what our city will look like in the next 4 or 5 years as the city council makes a decision based on what your input, all the different stickers and the technology things that we're going to use to ensure that everybody that's somebody in the city of Fairburn voice is to be heard. So again, I'm not going to prolong it because I get excited right now when I see events like this, just so excited about the turnout. Here's one last final thing, ladies and gentlemen. As you give your input today, I need you to take a record and take note of the next meetings that are coming. There's several meetings coming up. I need you to come to the different meetings. I need your input at each meeting. Why is that? Because as we get down to the fourth meeting or the third or fourth, we're going to start narrowing the scope as relates to what's been said. So the goal is when we get to council, when a report is made by the contractor to the council, it is truly indicative of what the community said they wanted to see. And that's why I need you to ask your neighbors, please come and give us your input. Put it out on social media is fine. I'm sorry. I can't do anything with Facebook. I need you here to give me your voice. So that way we can legitimately say that we've acquired data collection process, and we've now, as a result of it, the reflection of our comp plan is a reflection of what the people told us they want to see. So with that being said, I could keep going on, but I just get excited about when I see all these people. And one of the things I'm excited lately, looking at the diversity of the people in this room. So again, let's please do not hold back. We need to hear from everybody today, if you don't mind. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Denise and the contractor. Again, thank you. Would you guys give this company a hand for even this young lady's input at that introductory meeting 2 weeks ago? I was just blown away, and I said, "Man, how old are you? Goodness gracious, and you can talk like this, so." Okay, so yeah, I didn't ask you publicly, but I just want to say thank you so much. Your energy at our last meeting was just exciting. And so again, I hope you guys feel the same way when this is all said and done. So with that being said, have a great day.
Thank you. I don't know how. Is this on? I don't know how I'm going to top that, but I will try to match that energy as best I can. But I will echo. Is this on? Oh, it's not. Here we go. So real quick, I just want to echo the welcome and thank you for being here tonight. This is y'all's community. I don't live here. My team doesn't live here. We might live nearby, but this is not our community. This is your community, which means this is your plan. Myself and the rest of the consultant team, we're just here to help you get there. But again, thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives to come talk to us about what you think are going to be the biggest needs and opportunities for Fairburn's future. So tonight's agenda, we're gonna maybe improvise a little bit tonight, but for now, you're gonna meet us, the team. You're gonna get an overview of the plan and in the process that we are currently undergoing. We're gonna talk a little bit more about ways you can get involved other than just tonight. So as Mayor Avery mentioned, there are gonna be other meetings coming up, so we wanna make sure we have those dates in front of you. We'll talk about some surveys, our website, and so those are some channels that you can use to, again, kind of connect with us and tell us your thoughts about the city. And then if you have a bingo card, we're going to be playing a little bit of bingo during tonight's presentation. So as I'm talking, if you think of any needs and opportunities coming to mind, like, hey, we need a new grocery store, or hey, there's a great opportunity to revitalize the downtown. If it's not on your bingo card, write it down. Like I said, we are going to play bingo later, so we want to make sure that we hear from you guys. Just make sure by the end of tonight we get your bingo sheets back. That's how clever way we're going to get your input tonight. Right. So real quick, let's meet our team. So we have the city staff. They've been really instrumental in leading us, kind of helping us get to know Fairburn a little bit better. And then we have the consultant team. So we have two firms working on this. So I'm Allison Sinyard. I am the project manager. I work for the firm TSW. So we are going to be focusing on the land use and the transportation parts of the plan. We also have one of our associates who will be auditing the zoning ordinance and doing a best practices scan, and we'll also be looking at recommendations to align the zoning better with the recommendations that come from this comp plan. We also have working with this KB advisory group. If that name sounds familiar, it should be. They worked on the economic development strategic plan for the city, and they're also part of the team that is working on the Gateways master plan for downtown. So they're working with us. We've worked with them for a really long time on comprehensive plans. We have a great relationship with them, but they have been so instrumental so far in this process by helping us get oriented to Fairburn and telling us right now, here's what you're going to hear. Here are some of the things that we already know are happening as far as economic development is concerned, and these are things we've already heard from the community, so they've been really helpful in giving us a little bit of a Fairburn 101. So real quick, I'll talk about the plan and process. So if you were here a couple weeks ago, I believe it was February 10th, I was here at your council meeting. So some of this you may have heard already, but for those who were not there, I'm going to give you all a quick overview and rundown of what a comprehensive plan is and what it does for the community. So comprehensive plans, we've been hearing that word a lot. What it is a guiding document that outlines how a city's long-term vision for land development will be implemented over time. So typically we're looking 20 years into the future. But we like to update our plans every 5 years just to make sure that because we know a lot happens in 5 years. 5 years ago, we had a global pandemic. So, I mean, we couldn't have predicted that, right? So we want to make sure that every 5 years we're updating our plans just to make sure that they are accurate, they're current, and reflective of what is really happening in the community today. So the role of a comprehensive plan, like I said, it guides development, but specifically looking at future land use and development decisions. So when council's up here deciding if a rezoning should go through, they're going to look at the comprehensive plan and say, what does it say about this property? Or what does it say about this particular land use? And they're going to use that as their guide. The comprehensive plan also provides direction for other things like housing and transportation. And while they may not be the main stars of the show, they have a really strong supportive role. But the comprehensive plan does provide some direction as far as policy related to those things, and especially as they relate to future development. So let's talk about why we plan. So we talked about what a plan is. So why are we going through this process? Well, number one, it's required by the state of Georgia. You have to do this. And the only reason you have to do this is if you want to get access to some different economic and financial programs offered by the state. So the Department of Community Affairs handles that. They have a lot of funding streams that if you update your comprehensive plan every 5 years, you get this fancy designation and you'll be eligible for those funds. So that's really important when we think about how we get the plan implemented. It just makes it easy for you to access those funds. The other reason is, well, it's simple. You don't know where you're going if you don't have a plan to get there. So we need to understand what is the vision that we want, but also how are we going to get there? What does that map look like for us? The other thing is things change. I mentioned that earlier, why we try to update our plans every 5 years, because things change. And we want to make sure that our plans are current and they are reflective of not just what the community is doing today, but also keeping account of a good record of what has changed and how are we going to respond to those changes. And then lastly, and I think the mayor hit the nail on the head when he said we need to have a record of the community's vision. That's ultimately another good reason to plan. We want to make sure that we have on record, what did the community say about this? What did the community say about that? And also having a record of how that drove the plan recommendations. So I'll talk a little bit about our process. So we're in the very, very beginning, as you can see. This is our formal kickoff. I mean, we've been working on this plan now, kind of doing an existing conditions analysis, doing our research, analyzing what is there for the past 2 months. So we're kind of halfway through that now, and a key part of that is having meetings like this, because the data is great, it tells us a lot, but having the people here to sort of inform, well, okay, the research says this, that's great, but this is why this is, or yeah, it says this, but we really want something else. So we're gonna be in this process through March. And then we're going to jump into plan development. So we're going to take what we hear tonight, we're going to take what the results of the analysis and research says, and start thinking of, okay, so we know the needs, we know the opportunities. How does that translate into goals? How does that translate into strategy, particularly looking at land use, transportation, housing, taking all of this great knowledge and putting it to work. And so we'll be here at the beginning of April to do another planning workshop. This one, it'll be a little bit more interactive, so not sure what the exact agenda is going to be just yet, but in any event, it'll be a fun time. But it'll be a way for us to be able to show the community what we have thought about so far and get some feedback. So we'll be working on the developing the plan through the late spring, early summer, and then we'll be back in June to show you the results of our recommendations and say, okay, this is what we've come up with. Did we get this right? And if we didn't get it right, what can we do differently? And then we'll be spending the rest of the summer and early fall refining our plan. We'll have the plan hopefully ready by end of August for the community to view, give feedback. Again, kind of go back through this process of, okay, did we get it right? If we didn't, how do we fix it? And then our plan is to adopt the plan in October at a scheduled city council meeting. So what are we doing here? What is the scope of this plan? As the consultants, what are we doing? So part of what we're doing is taking inventory of what the city has accomplished since you last adopted your plan in 2021. With that said, we are going to be looking at your future land use strategy and making some necessary updates. So we're kind of in the process now of looking at what you have and measuring it up against what we heard so far and what we'll hear tonight and in the coming weeks to say, okay, well, is this a good representation of what the community wants as far as future development is concerned? Like I mentioned, we are going to be auditing the zoning ordinance and making sure that the recommendations are aligned well with the comprehensive plan. We want to make sure these two documents are speaking to each other. They're speaking the same language, that there is a good level of redundancy happening. So we want to make sure that the zoning is able to implement the comprehensive plan is able to guide zoning decisions. Another thing we're doing is we're going to make sure that the rest of the plan is updated to reflect on all of the planning work the city has done over the past 5 years. So you can see on the screen, you've done quite a few plans. This is just a small sample, just in the past few years. So Parks and Recreation Plan, you've done an Economic Development Strategic Plan, you're working on an LCI for your downtown, the Gateway Plan. There was a market analysis a housing and market analysis that was done that we're going to kind of take some of the recommendations from. So making sure that the result of all that good work has not been ignored and making sure that it is reflected in the plan. Another thing your city is currently undergoing is an update of its strategic plan, which I think the way I like to explain it is that the comprehensive plan is more concerned with the physical. The strategic plan is taking an even broader look and looking at how the city functions internally. So we're going to be coordinating with the consultant team working on that to ensure that, number one, we don't accidentally duplicate each other's efforts. We want to make sure that we are coordinated and to also make sure that again, anything that they're recommending is reflected in our plan and vice versa. So comprehensive plans, one thing that is required by the state is to have what's called a community work program. But that is kind of the meat of the plan. That is what dictates the steps necessary to achieve a vision. So we'll be updating that to ensure that it is current and that it is able to to implement the vision that you have set for your future. And again, most importantly, we're getting input from you, the community, on what you want to see for the future. So let's talk about what you've accomplished so far. I think the mayor did a great job highlighting some of the major ones. So expansion of Highway 74, completing a Parks and Recreation master plan. You've updated your Economic Development Strategic Plan. So those are going to be really key in guiding how those things work for your city in the future. There's been a number of placemaking initiatives, upgrades made to city programming, and you've got new fire stations. You've got one that is complete and operating. You have one that is nearing completion, and then I heard a rumor that there might be some more coming online. So you've done a lot in the past 5 years, and that's pretty impressive considering kind of what our world has gone through the past few years. You guys have managed to do so much. So that's something y'all should be very, very proud of. And so what this comprehensive plan is going to do is take into account all these great accomplishments and then and ask ourselves, okay, this is great. We did almost everything we set out to do. What's the next step? What does that next step look like? All right, let's talk about how you can get involved in the plan, right? So ways to participate. First of all, attend meetings like this one. This is a great first step. Attend meetings. Check. We have a website. I'll talk about that in a moment, but stay informed. We are going to make an effort to keep it updated continuously, so when there is new information to be shared, it will be on the website. We have a community input survey that we are putting together with the strategic plan consultant, again, kind of coordinating our efforts, not reinventing the wheel. So that should be coming out sometime in the next week. We'll make sure that people are informed of when that comes out. And another way you can be helpful in participating is telling your friends and neighbors about the comprehensive plan. Tell them about the process, where we are in the process. Encourage them to come to meetings. Encourage them to see the website. Encourage them to take surveys. And if there are other ways to get involved, we will make sure this community finds out. So here's our website. So what this is going to include, so we've kind of built it out a little bit more. So it has right now all the upcoming meeting dates along with times and locations, so that's all updated. We'll have the link to the big community input survey. When we have public meetings like this, we'll have online activities for after the meeting, so those folks who are unable to participate in person, for example, if you're watching live, hi, you'll be able to participate after the meeting is over. We'll also make sure that everything you see in this room, the presentation, these boards, that they're going to be uploaded onto the website. So again, if you weren't here with us in person, again, hi, you can come look at this later, and again, you can feel like you were part of the meeting. And also, the website will have plan documents. So as we create the draft plan, we'll make sure those are uploaded online so that you can take a look at them as they're made ready to view publicly. This is our URL right here, www.fairburncomplan.com. I have a QR code later in the presentation, so if you're a QR code person, be prepared. Might want to get your phone out and ready. But save this link, bookmark it, however you like to come back to websites, but that is our website. And like I said, we will be making sure to continuously update this throughout the process. So I mentioned our survey, our big community survey. It launches next week. We are just working with the strategic plan consultant. We're just getting the final touches on it and to make sure it is absolutely ready. We're asking the right questions. But we're going to be asking you questions about quality of life in Fairburn, how you are seeing the growth happening, maybe what some of your ideas and concerns might be, housing, transportation, and more. We have quite a few questions. There's also going to be an optional demographic section. So you don't have to fill it out, but if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, that just helps us ensure that we are reaching the average Fairburn citizen and that we are not accidentally reaching people that are not exactly making up what we think to be the typical Fairburn resident. So that's just going to help us out a little bit and make sure that we are able to tailor our outreach efforts in real time. So upcoming public meeting dates. So our next one will be April 24th, 6 p.m. in this room. If that changes, we'll let you know, but so far, April 24th, 6 p.m. in this room, City Council chambers. We are planning to do some outreach at a Third Friday event coming up soon. I think we might be doing it in May, but again, we'll let y'all know. But what we'll do is set up a tent. We'll probably have some things set up for the community to do. So y'all come say hi. We'll tell you about what we've been working on and just get a chance to maybe get some quick feedback from you guys. And then the draft plan open house, right now we have it scheduled for June 17th. It says all day, but it'll probably be more something like 10 to 4, 2 to 6. We're going to try to make it so that people can drop in throughout the day, view the recommendations, and give us their feedback kind of on their own schedule, because we know everyone's schedule's all over the place, so we want to make sure that we're giving people plenty of opportunity to come by and check out the plan in person. All right, let's talk about needs and opportunities real quick. So if you have a bingo card, hopefully you have filled out some things on it. We can come back to this. We absolutely can. But what we're doing tonight is we're having you fill out the spaces on your bingo card with the needs and the opportunities that you think exist in Fairburn. We've already pre-filled out some of the spots, the squares, with things that we've learned just by reading previous planning efforts. We consolidated those, and then so some of your cards, they're gonna all be a little different, but we went ahead and pre-filled some of those out. If anything, just to sort of, jog your imagination. So we can come back to this if needed. We do have another set of boards here tonight that lists all those needs and opportunities, so you can fill out your card and then come back and check against it. But yeah, if you hear, as we're talking, and you hear one, and it's on your bingo card, go ahead and mark it off. I might come back to this here just shortly, but I do want to talk about the other activities we have here tonight. So in addition to the bingo card, we have a needs and opportunities board. We'll swap these out that you see around the room with those boards. So after you fill out your card, if you didn't hear anything, let's say if we go back through the needs and opportunities, if you didn't hear anything called out, you're welcome to come by and double check and make sure that you get your card done. If you hit 5 in a row, you've hit bingo, and the first 3 to hit bingo will get a prize. That's very exciting. If anything, just make sure, please leave your completed card with us. Like I said, this is just another way we're going to get input tonight. We are trying to make sure we understand all of the needs and all of the opportunities present in Fairburn, in addition to the ones we've already identified. The other activity we have tonight, and we'll put this up here shortly, is our city report card. So what this is think about in school, right? Like you got graded on subjects, math, English, social studies. But we have a city report card that has planning subjects, so things like land use, housing, transportation, economic development, broadband, natural and cultural resources, and public relations and communications. And what we're asking people to do is we have pens and markers all throughout the space. What you'll do is you will come and you will write a grade next to the thing. So let's talk about transportation just for a hot second. If you think transportation network in Fairburn is doing really well, like, man, this is exceeding my expectations. I never hit traffic ever in my life. This is awesome. You can give it an A or B. you might even give it a D or an F. Like, we live in Metro Atlanta. Traffic's a problem. So you may feel like, yeah, we need to do something about it. But that's our grading scale. But yeah, we want to the reason we're doing like a little report card, this is going to give us a sense of, as a community, kind of what your feelings are around different subjects in your city. So we also have these activities online. So we have them in the form of these like little mini surveys. I'm going to take my phone out right now. I have the website queued up, ready to save. Here we go. So I just published a page on our website that has all of these activities. It also has the presentation from tonight. It has the boards. So if you are watching us live from YouTube or somewhere else, you can now go on our website and you can take a look at the boards, the presentation, and you can do the activity. So these are informed like a mini survey. So the needs and opportunities, we've listed all the ones we've identified. We're having people check off the ones that to them are most important. We've got room for everyone to fill out additional ones. Same thing with opportunities. And then the Fairburn report card is also like a survey. So you'll be kind of given an option for each subject to grade it A through F. So we'll have that open for a couple of weeks for folks. I believe we said March 14th we would go ahead and close that. And the reason we're going to go ahead and just keep it open for a couple weeks is we do need some pencils downtime. So we can take a look at the results, combined with tonight, everyone here present with us, and start to, again, kind of paint the picture of what are the chief needs and opportunities in Fairburn, and how are they going to start translating into goals and strategies for the city. All right, I'm going to go back to the needs and opportunities in a minute so we can play some bingo, but let's talk about next steps. So next steps, survey is going to go live next week. Here's that QR code I was talking about. But the link to the survey will be on our website. I'm sure the city will have a place on their website as well. So it'll be everywhere. So take the survey, promote the website, and all of the upcoming engagement we have to your network. So your neighbors, your friends, your kids' teachers if they live here, your coworkers, anyone you can think of that would have a vested interest in Fairburn. We have our next meeting April 24th, so we would love to see each and every one of you out for that event as well. And then just in general, be on the lookout for information on upcoming events. As we have information, we'll be sure to have that on the website, and we'll be working with the city to make sure that that information is communicated. Again, URL and the QR code to the website. And the website should now have the public workshop number 1. I'm getting a thumbs up. It's on there. Fantastic. All right, so that's our spiel for tonight. If you have questions, this is me and this is my email. Take a screenshot of it or take a picture of it. It is on the website too. This is Denise's email as well. So if you have questions, I'm sorry? Okay, cool. So if you have any questions, reach out to us. Let us know. If you have any ideas, comments, you want to tell us something you love or hate right now about your city, email us. We want to hear about it. And thank you so much for your time tonight. Let me take a quick picture of y'all. Denise.
You don't get this everywhere. So please, thank you, because this is, as our fabulous consultant team said, this is your plan. And we thank you. We do want to let you guys know that we will have a larger space, because we did not anticipate that we would have this large a crowd, but this is the kind of problem I want to have at every meeting. I want to have people show up and tell us exactly what you feel, what you want to see, so that we can plan for the future and make sure that what you want to see happen in your city becomes reality. So thank you all. Please, we got a lot of interactive activities, so don't leave. We also got food in the back, some water, but we will also be taking questions and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a little bit more interactive, but I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you, because you guys have jobs, responsibilities, and you took a moment to come and talk about your city. So thank you.
And I'll echo that sentiment. Thank you for showing up, and you know, it warms my heart as a consultant and someone who is very passionate about civic engagement to see a community show up like this. We just don't see this every day, so it's very heartwarming for us. If I can get the presentation back really quickly, I see some of y'all scribbling furiously on your bingo cards. Some of y'all really want to win that prize. I'm going to go through the needs and opportunities that we have already identified. If you hear or see it, you go ahead and cross it off your bingo card. We also have a board around the room that lists those. So if you think you might have missed something, if I'm going a little too fast, rest assured you can go find that information on the board. I'm happy to slow down and go back, but be sure. All right, so let's talk about needs. So some of the needs we identified as we read, so like I said, we read through the previous planning work you've done already. Because again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to be too duplicative of our efforts. So we read through all the plans. One of my colleagues did the hard work of identifying every need. Actually, both my colleagues here tonight did the hard work of identifying every single need and every single opportunity that every plan identified, and then collating them and finding some common themes. And we met with the steering committee a couple weeks ago, and we were able to get a few more needs on that list, but most of what we heard kind of just reinforced what we had already learned. And then we've been meeting with folks one-on-one all week to talk a little bit more about the city. And again, a lot of this stuff has been echoed, which is great, because that just tells us, okay, we've hit the nail on the head, we got this, we know it. But the reason we're having you do this exercise with the bingo card is because we just want to make sure that there's nothing else we haven't considered. We want to make sure we have addressed every need and every opportunity that exists in Fairburn. So I'm going to go read through the needs. So economic revitalization, which includes addressing declining property values, business closures, stagnant growth, infrastructure, improving aging roads, sidewalks, drainage, and connectivity, housing, expanding senior housing, mixed-use developments, and affordable housing options. Land use and zoning, we've got update zoning codes, preventing incompatible uses, encouraging smart growth. Downtown and corridor redevelopment, we have revitalizing underutilized properties, improving walkability. Here's some more. Parks and recreation, some of the needs we identified were increasing park acreage, increasing the number of recreational facilities, and trail connectivity. For transportation, we have enhancing sidewalks, bike lanes, transit access, and truck management. I think that's a big one we've been hearing all week, the trucks. Placemaking in public spaces, we have strengthening public gathering spaces, creative placemaking, and wayfinding. Economic development, improving business attraction, branding, and flexibility in property use. And then lastly, for sustainability, we've identified preserving green space, improving tree canopy protection, and managing industrial impacts. So hopefully some of y'all have been able to cross some stuff off your card. You got bingo. Oh my goodness, 2 bingos already. That's fantastic. Well, no, don't be shy. If you have a bingo, let me know, because our first 3 people get a prize. So don't be shy. So we got 1, and we got 2, and we have a 3rd bingo. Fantastic. We're going to go through the rest of the opportunities anyway. We have no more prizes to give out, but maybe you'll still get bingo anyway. That's always fun. I have a great bingo story if anyone wants to hear it later. So let's talk about opportunities we've identified. So redevelopment potential, including downtown, major corridors, and underutilized properties. So you'll probably notice some of the opportunities are kind of similar to the needs, which is good, because that, again, clearly tells us there is something to be said for that. Existing economic development tools, we have opportunity zones, tax incentives, and public-private partnerships. Public infrastructure investment, we got recent streetscape improvements, expanded parks, and new multimodal connections. Opportunities for housing growth include new demand for senior, workforce, and mixed-use housing. All right, opportunities for creative placemaking include existing public art, cultural programming, and historic preservation efforts. For industrial growth, we've identified opportunities related to Fairburn's industrial base and location near major transportation hubs. Tourism and events, utilizing the Renaissance Festival, the film industry, and local historic assets. And then lastly, for education and workforce, we've identified expanding partnerships with colleges and workforce training programs for residents. So that's all we have. We also have the boards set up aside here, so if you're free to go look at them. If you think of anything else, let us know. Just real quick, though, with the bingo cards, make sure, again, I'm just going to reiterate this, make sure we get your card back, because, again, that's kind of how we're collecting some input tonight. We have a basket back there, So you can just, as you're leaving, you can just drop it off. And then if you want to take a picture of your bingo card, you can do that as well. Just make sure we get it at the end of the night. All right, really quickly, can I answer any questions about the plan, the process, engagement, the activities that we have, the other activities we have for you tonight? Oh, and we do have mics available so no one has to shout. So nothing? No questions? Oh, we have one right here. Yes, sir.
All these improvements that you're projecting, are this going to cause any tax increases to the people in Fairburn, or just already been allocated?
I don't think I am the best person to answer that question. I'm just the consultant, so I'm not super familiar with the city's finances at this time. Denise, do you want to chime in with that, or anybody else from the city staff? I'll get out of your way.
Sure. We are looking at a variety of different ways to increase revenue. One of those things that we have going on right now is a impact fee study. And basically, that is a cost you put on new developers to help with some of the costs associated with some of the amenities and things you want. So that's one of the things we're doing, but our finance department is working on a lot of different areas so that we can rely more on new development helping with that cost and not being such a burden on existing legacy residents.
So, to make me understand it better, it's a possibility, what you just said.
Good evening. I'm Jamila Chris. I serve as the Assistant City Administrator. I will say the first thing we look for is outside funding from federal grants or other grant opportunities. And so if anyone tunes into our council meetings, that's the first thing that our elected officials harp on us on, what grant opportunities are available. And so we do have a consultant, so that will be the first avenue that we would try to explore in reference to bringing some of these projects to the city.
So that's still a possibility then.
I would say realistically.
I don't hear political speak, just say it.
So no, I will say in any capacity, it's always a possibility to increase taxes, whether it's due to an increase in services. And so, but I will tell you with these plans, we always look to external funding first.
You're welcome.
That young lady got me first.
All right. Any more questions? Oh, we got one right here.
I have a comment. Something that wasn't listed there as far as development is shopping, because right now we have all of the warehouses with all of the trucks and the traffic is just out of hand. Could we get something like, the avenues in Peachtree City? I know that's been talked about instead of a warehouse. How can we develop differently?
Is a fantastic comment and question. So what comprehensive plans can do is look at the city, one as a whole, right? But we might look at individual areas of the city and identify, okay, these areas are probably best suited for residential. This is best suited for commercial. And so what we try to do is also look at the zoning and say, okay, what zoning districts match well for those areas so that when a rezoning happens, we know exactly how to rezone it. What we can also do is include in the comprehensive plan for these areas the types of development we want to see. We might include some visuals. So the avenues that Peachtree City you're talking about, we can include some pictures of that and say, okay, these are the areas of Fairburn that we want to see a development like that. So should a development like that come to the city, we know A, where to put it, and B, how to rezone it. And we can also we can also encourage developers to come and develop that within the city. So we're giving the city a tool to not just plan for that, but to also to give something to developers and say, this is how we want to develop. Can you bring this into our city? Oh, I see another hand back there.
Yes, good evening. So I have a couple of points. Number one, Fairburn has a large number of fast food restaurants. And right now, I know me and my wife, whenever we want to go to a decent restaurant, we either have to go into Atlanta or either to Peachtree City. What's the opportunities to attract more sit-down restaurants? Okay, so that's number one. Then number two deals with infrastructure. So I know that Fairburn really depends upon the city of Atlanta for its water delivery. And I know as a homeowner, the water bills, the sewer charge is just ridiculous at times, right? From an infrastructure perspective, is there an opportunity to do some better development from that?
I'm going to let Jamila talk about this for a little bit. So this is outside my wheels. We do have a consultant on our team who's a civil engineer and is very well versed in utilities. So part of what he'll be looking at is how can we align development with infrastructure, so water, sewer, all that great stuff. So that is something we will be looking at. And I think as planners, that is typically what we try to do as best as we can, is align the new development with the infrastructure. So we're not causing any weird problems down the line. To answer your first question, I think we're going to be, I mean, I've heard so many folks say that. They want more sit-down restaurants. They don't want to eat fast food all the time. It's tricky, but I think that just comes, I think that's where your city's economic development department really comes in. I know they've been working really hard to try to trap more businesses. So, but something I think our comp plan can do is establish a vision. For example, the downtown area just comes to mind of what we want that to look like and some strategies of how we can attract more of those businesses. But I'll let Jamila kind of fill in.
So in reference to your question about the water, at our February 10th council meeting, council approved an agreement and an IGA between the city of Fairburn and Fayette County for water supply services. And so for those that don't know and may not have tuned into the meeting, Fayette County has a permit, but they don't utilize the amount of water that their permit allows. So they're in a unique position where they can sell water wholesale to cities like Fairburn that need them. And so as we finalize that agreement and work out that plan, we will be presenting that to the public, but we do intend to tap into their water infrastructure to provide better water quality services to our residents. Now, that may not mean that we get rid of Atlanta, but of course, this will provide an additional service and additional, I guess, inflow of water to the city, especially in those areas that may experience low water pressure.
Yeah, this is about the attracting development, and then you talked about a tax for developers. What is the rate or percentage?
Oh, Denise, you want to talk about the impact fee? I'm not super familiar with your structure, so you may need to fill me in on that.
Gotcha. So we are in the early stages of actually developing a impact fee. Any city in Georgia can do this, but you have to start with actually doing a study, a methodology study, to prove that there is a need. Once you complete your methodology study, then you get recommendations. You have to have the business community as a part of that, and then we would present all of that to council, so they would decide what the rates are, if they decide they want to proceed with it. But I'll give you my card so that you can stay up to speed on it, and anyone else who's interested. It is in the works. We have a committee. We have, I would say we're probably about 80% done on the methodology study. Mm-hmm. Typically, the most I've seen folks utilize it for, it's for the industrial developments, and that's by square footage. The multifamily development, they would pay by unit. Single-family developers, they would also have to pay a portion of it, and that would only be on new development. And ultimately, City Council would make the decision on where the most appropriate rates are and how they would like to apply all of that. But that would also have to be done during a public meeting. So it's not something that you can kind of do and put on the shelf. It's something that's presented in a public forum because it impacts so many different people. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see one hand that's been back here for a minute. We'll get back to you.
Okay, who am I going to first?
I got you next to my radar.
Right here?
She's had her hand up for a few minutes.
Hi, I had a question about the timeline. I know you said this was a 20-year plan, but you have to redo it every 5 years. But some of the needs are greater and need to be responded to more immediately. So will there be a timeline for, that's your question?
No, I haven't answered to that.
Okay.
Oh. please,
These
Denise.
two have questions.
Same question. No, it's fine.
Did you want to ask her? His question was, he wanted more libraries.
Oh, that's fantastic. You and me both. But to your question about, because a comp plan is 20 years down the line and only has 5 years, that's an excellent point. That's why we're doing a strategic plan and a comp plan at the same time. So your comp plan is your vision. Your strategic plan is what you're going to do in the next 5 years. So.
Yeah, like if we need lights, does that have to wait 5 years, or can we get that now at grocery store? Something like that.
Oh, no. If we have as much participation as I'm seeing now throughout this entire process, we'll have enough data, enough public input to be able to do some really strategic position to get some of these things accomplished probably within the next 3 to 5 years.
And I can add to that. Some communities will do an interim update, in between the 5-year periods. It's been a while since I've worked with a community that's had to do this, but basically sometimes what will happen is exactly that. There's an immediate need that needs to be addressed. So sometimes the city government, county government, whomever might say, okay, we have this immediate need. We need to figure out a plan. They may not go through this exact process, but they may have a public meeting or two to say, hey guys, we need to amend our comp plan real quick to make sure we have this addressed. So I've seen that happen, and then they'll go through, council, adopt it, send everything back to the state just to say, hey, like we have this new plan. We made an update. Here it is. Make sure they have it on file. But if there's something super pressing, we do encourage cities to maybe, don't be afraid to do an interim update just to make sure those needs are addressed.
I was going to say, in reference to the grocery store, our economic development director just came back yesterday from Las Vegas. She attended the National Grocers Association conference, and she's made a lot of contacts that she has some people interested in coming to Fairburn. And so it's on our radar. We've heard our residents, and so we're working toward bringing a grocery store to Fairburn.
I have a question up front here first.
Oh.
You had mentioned that the developers, if they had an idea of what they wanted to bring to the city, that they can present that to you. Is that prior to them having the land or picking out the location?
Sometimes, yes. So I don't have a ton of public, I've never worked for a city government before, but my experience, we have folks in our office who do a lot of this work for developers. So sometimes they have the property already in hand, and they're like, so we have these ideas, this is what we want to do. We might help them through that process. Sometimes they don't. They have an option to buy a property. So they may do a quick design study, rezoning, talk to people like Denise and other folks in the city to say, hey, is this feasible? Is this something we can do? Help us make it possible. So the timeline on that can vary. It just really depends on the developer and the land that might be available at the time and if they have an option to buy or not.
If it's not part of your comprehensive plan, that will be discussed when you...
Yes, so Denise would ideally sit down with them, walk them through the comprehensive plan if they're not familiar, and they would have a conversation. Denise, if you want to describe what that conversation might look like.
Yes. So any developer who is interested in doing anything in Fairburn, if it's related to commercial, residential, typically they will do a concept plan, and that has to go before our Planning and Zoning Commission. If there is a change in land use, then it has to go before City Council, and City Council can decide. But we have a ton of developers who will reach out and say, hey, I want to do this in this area. And so we then have a conversation with them about the feasibility. Having opportunities to hear your feedback helps us in those meetings, because if somebody brings something that we know you like, we can tell them, oh yeah, the general public has told us about this countless time. On the other hand, if they're bringing something that you don't like, if you've said, numerous times, all online or in person, or called me and said, this is not what I want to see, I'm always transparent with developers, and I say, you can submit the application and go through the process, but I'm telling you, the general public has told us they do not want to see this. So, but yes.
I think we may have time for maybe 2 more questions. I want to make sure everyone has enough time to do the Fairburn report card and finish filling out and crossing off their bingo cards.
She kind of asked the question I was interested. It's kind of a follow-up question. If those developers come into the community and they previously have owned the land, and we update our comp plan and then go back and update our zoning codes, will they have to adhere to the old zoning codes or the new zoning codes?
That's a good question. So if it is one of our traditional zoning districts, C1, neighborhood residential, any of those areas, then they have to adhere to the new standard. If it is a master plan communities, it's a little bit different. So master plan communities have their own set of ordinances, own set of restrictions that are unique to that property. But for all the other properties, yes, they would have to, even if they previously owned it.
Yeah, we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Hi, I was just going to comment in relation to your question. This is where it's really important to know the previous comp plan, because as I went back, I'm on the steering committee, and I went and read the entire comp plan, and it was really enlightening to see where we are in the process of the goals over the time period, and it will tell you what things have been accomplished, what things have been taken off because they're no longer relevant, what things we're in the process of. So the evolution of the comp plan is really important to stay on top of, but that is the first place to look to see what has been accomplished, what we're still working on, what has been decided it's no longer relevant.
Okay, last question in the back. I should have wore skates.
Actually, I see 2 hands, so we'll go ahead and take both questions. This gentleman here and this woman here.
Oh, we got you next, okay.
Hi, good evening. So I was curious to know about plans around the education space. So on this, the needs was around workforce development and college partnerships, but also on these whiteboards, it said that the average homeowner is under 45, meaning small children. What is plans for the K through 12 space?
So what is the question exactly?
Plans around the K through 12 space. A lot of the needs address like college partnerships, but the average homeowner is under 45, meaning most of us may have children that are younger. So I don't see anything, and the young man over there talked about libraries, but like what is the plans for anything around our education system or any enhancements in that area?
I don't know if I can, how the best way to answer that. So the comprehensive plan is not really going to touch too much of the K-12 school, because that's up to Fulton County schools to kind of make those decisions. However, what we've been hearing a lot in this process is this need for, number one, youth engagement, so we can hear a little bit more about what they want. And then number 2, another thing we've heard is a lot of people have said, I may have children who are older and may have moved on, but when they were younger and they lived here, they often complained about not having this and not having that and wanting more space for this. We've also heard things about, we've heard great things about the Global Impact Academy and what they're doing, and, kind of talking about how can we, duplicate those results elsewhere in the city. So as far as K-12 goes, I don't know if this is the best avenue to, we'll take comments. If there's anything that we can forward to our contacts at Fulton County Schools, we'll do so. But yeah, this plan doesn't really touch too much on public education because that's usually another entity that's managing that. But I will say we've heard a lot about things about what youth might be looking for in the future, and we think that's a very important population to capture because this is their future, right? I have a small kid at home, and so I think about what he's going to want in 10 years, 20 years down the line. So I think we do have a plan to also engage our youth throughout this process and to get a little bit more insight about the things they're looking for, whether they relate to school or outside of school.
Okay, great.
Some of that was captured in the Parks Master Plan. And so when we went through that plan, we engaged the residents to see what recreational activities they wanted to see within the city of Fairburn. And I know it was from a skate park to a recreation center. There were a number of projects that came from that plan. And so now we're looking to see how can we implement and how can we fund that without raising taxes. And so, as you know, we'll be looking towards grants for that one as well.
Yes, to the gentleman question, the great Jackie right here. As far as bringing sit-down restaurants downtown Fairburn, I would be doing that. I've been trying to do it, still trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just the people that have property and own onto property don't want to let it go. Don't want to do nothing with it, so it's not their fault. People's own property, don't want to do nothing with it, just got it sitting there, ain't trying to do nothing with it, so it's hard. But I got one building on Smith Street, 25 Smith Street and 27. Coming up 2 weeks, we got a liquidation store that's opening up, and we also doing the other side as the event center, parties and rental, stuff like that. But I'm trying my best to put restaurants, sit-down restaurants in Fairburn. But the people got to come together and want to do it with me. You know what I'm saying? As far as people just owning properties and all that, they ain't trying to come up off it. They ain't even trying to lease them. So it's not the city fault. It's not the council's fault. It's not the mayor's fault. It's the people that's own the property that don't want to let it go.
All right. Well,
Good evening. In regard to the restaurant situation, I think if part of the issue, I think if the city had a land bank, because the city owns land, right? If they had a land bank, that would completely resolve that issue, right? They've got land that they've been sitting on for years that they're not doing anything with, so they can use that and incorporate that within the comprehensive plan. So, and then also too, I was curious whether or not the impact, we was talking about impact fees earlier, whether or not the impact fees would actually hinder redevelopment efforts. And so, and then also too, in regard to the contractors relative to the infrastructure plans, how will those contractors be selected to ensure equitability? And then the last would be, what areas have been targeted for the affordable housing expansion? Specifically, what areas?
I'm running down all your questions so I can remember them. As far as the land that the city owns, we are actually working with our Downtown Development Authority to develop a land bank. And so I will tell you the properties downtown that the city owns are the stage and courtyard and the depots. And of course, council just approved, I believe in January, the addition of Buttermilk Biscuit, who will be opening up a restaurant in the depot that is closed. And so we are looking into the land bank because we know how useful that will be. Your question in reference to impact fees. I will tell you there are a number of cities in our number of neighboring cities that get impact fees. I know a lot of people reference Peachtree City. They get impact fees, and they use that for a lot of their capital improvement projects, which eases the burden on the general fund to fund fire trucks, to fund an ambulance and the services and the equipment that's needed. And so that's just an example of how one city uses their impact fees, but there are others that receive them. And so there is no shortage of development that happens in those cities. And so I do not think that instituting impact fees in Fairburn will hinder development, because right now everyone is looking to come to Fairburn. It just has to be the right development that comes to our city. So the tax incentives you referenced don't come through the city. Those are typically done during a development authority. Now, I will tell you now, while Fairburn has its own development authority, that does not stop a developer from going to the Fulton County Development Authority to get a tax credit. And so, but that's not something that the city approves. That's done through the development authority. Mm-hmm. And we have, and we. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think that's something that you guys might want to, consider, maybe take a look at.
And we do. We have a good partnership with the Fulton County Development Authority. But I will tell you that if Fairburn's Development Authority says no to a tax break, that doesn't stop a developer from going to Fulton County if Fulton County is saying yes. And so what we do is we try to engage the developers from the onset and have those conversations to prevent them from going there. And the incentive is come to Fairburn, let us patronize you, bring something great to our community. But at the end of the day, we can't stop them from going to Fulton County. And that's kind of one of the issues when you have a city development authority and a county development authority. They have options.
Well, we have very little influence as individual citizens, and the political climate is such that there's a lot of non-conventional things going on right now, and a ton of non-traditional things going on right now. So I think we need to change the pendulum and change the conversation.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you all so much. So we're gonna break out. We want your help filling out the report card. We have food outside, so please get something to eat. If you have any specific questions about the comp plan, Roxanne and Safa, can y'all come up here real quick? So I have two other consultants here with me from our team. They're waving in the back. So we have Roxanne and Safa here. So Safa is going to be the person to talk to if you have any questions or comments about transportation. She's our transportation planner on staff. Roxanne is going to be a great resource for anything related to land use and community engagement. Also broadband. She loves talking about broadband. She can talk about it all day. That's your girl. And then, of course, you can talk to me about the comp plan, anything related to the process. We have members of city staff here, so if you have any questions about things the city is specifically doing, they're going to be great resources. But with that said, we're around. We're here to answer questions. I think we're here till 7:30 was the plan. All right. So get something to eat. Help us fill out the report card. If you won bingo, come find me, so we can get you your prize. And don't forget to give us your bingo card. Thank you, guys.